The vanishing of flight MH370. It was a quiet night on March 8, 2014, when Malaysian Airlines Flight MH370 prepared for takeoff. The Boeing 777-200ER, a reliable and trusted aircraft, was set to carry 239 people, passengers and crew, on a routine red-eye flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. For most aboard, it was an ordinary journey. Some were returning home, others heading to new opportunities, and a few were simply traveling for leisure. The plane lifted off at 12:41 a.m., climbing steadily into the night sky. No one could have imagined that this flight would never reach its destination. The first part of the journey was uneventful. The plane reached its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet, and the pilots, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah and First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid, communicated with air traffic control as expected. At 1:19 a.m., the final words from the cockpit were heard, "Good night, Malaysian 370. Moments later, as the plane crossed from Malaysian to Vietnamese airspace, it disappeared from radar. Just like that, flight MH370 was gone. The first hours. At first, air traffic controllers assumed it was a technical glitch. Planes occasionally lose contact temporarily, only to reappear moments later. But as the minutes turned into hours, concern grew. The plane wasn't responding to calls, and it wasn't showing up on radar. By morning, it was clear that something was terribly wrong. Flight MH370 had vanished without a trace. The families of the passengers waited anxiously for news, but none came. The hours stretched into days, and the mystery deepened. How could a modern aircraft simply disappear? There was no distress call, no emergency beacon, no sign of trouble. It was as if the plane had been swallowed by the sky. The search begins. The disappearance of MH370 triggered one of the largest search efforts in aviation history. Initially, search teams focused on the South China Sea, where the plane was last seen on civilian radar. Ships and aircraft scoured the area, but there was no sign of wreckage. Then, a startling discovery shifted the search entirely. Military radar had tracked the plane making an unexpected turn westward, back across the Malay Peninsula. It then flew over the Andaman Sea before disappearing completely. This revelation raised more questions than answers. Why had the plane changed course? Who was in control? And where was it headed? Investigators turned to satellite data for clues. A company called Inmarsat had recorded handshakes between the plane and a satellite, even after it disappeared from radar. By analyzing these signals, they determined that the plane had flown for several more hours. The data suggested two possible flight paths, one heading north toward Central Asia, and the other south into the vast, remote Indian Ocean. The southern route was deemed more likely, and the search shifted to one of the most desolate stretches of ocean on Earth. Theories and speculation. As the search dragged on with no sign of the plane, theories about what happened to MH370 began to emerge. Some believed the plane had suffered a catastrophic mechanical failure, such as a fire or a sudden loss of cabin pressure, which incapacitated the crew and passengers. In this scenario, the plane could have flown on autopilot until it ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean. Others suspected foul play. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah came under scrutiny when investigators discovered that he had practiced a similar flight path on a home flight simulator. Some believed he may have deliberately diverted the plane, though no definitive evidence supported this theory. Others speculated that the plane had been hijacked, but no group ever claimed responsibility, and no motive was ever established. The lack of answers also gave rise to more speculative ideas. Some suggested the plane had been the target of a cyber attack or a mid-air collision. Others pointed to the plane's disappearance as evidence of a government cover-up. And as with many unsolved mysteries, there were even whispers of extraterrestrial involvement. The debris. For months, search teams scoured the Indian Ocean, using sonar equipment and underwater drones to map the seabed. But the ocean is vast, and the search area was immense. It wasn't until July 2015, over a year after the disappearance, that the first piece of debris was found. A flaperon, a part of the plane's wing, washed ashore on Reunion Island, thousands of miles from the suspected crash site. Over the years, additional pieces of debris were discovered along the coasts of Africa and nearby islands, confirming that MH370 had indeed crashed into the Indian Ocean. But the main wreckage and the flight's black boxes remain missing, leaving the final moments of the flight shrouded in mystery. The legacy of MH370. For the families of the 239 people aboard, the disappearance of MH370 is a wound that has never healed. Without answers, they are left to wonder what happened to their loved ones in those final hours. The lack of closure has been a source of unimaginable pain, and many continue to demand that the search for the plane resume. The case of MH370 has also raised important questions about aviation safety. How could a plane simply vanish in an age of advanced technology? Efforts have since been made to improve aircraft tracking and communication systems, but the mystery of MH370 remains a haunting reminder of how vast and unpredictable our world can be. Somewhere deep in the Indian Ocean, the wreckage of flight MH370 lies hidden, keeping its secrets locked away beneath the waves. For now, the story of MH370 is one of unanswered questions, a mystery that continues to captivate and confound. It is a tale of loss, of hope, and of the enduring human need to seek the truth, even when the answers seem impossibly out of reach.